So me and Will had to talk before we start this video, and one of the things that I liked is Richard having to ask he didn't really ask a question, but he was hoping Fajing would be used in the video from last time about magnetic north. If you've seen part 1, great. If you see part 1 and part 2, you are really special. And I appreciate it. And then Marcus Fard had a question, and we're going to go through that real quick, or at least try to, because this video is only for question and answers. And bring on the questions as much as possible, because it's more exciting that way. It's just way more exciting. So Richard was hoping that I was going to snap the elbow or whatever and execute Fajing when that used the power of what we was doing. We already practiced in the very beginnings of Wing Chun. You already practiced an idea of Fajing when you start with the inch punching. Whereas most schools of Wing Chun, they'll start 6 inch, 3 inch, 1 inch on, and even 0 inch power. What Will can tell you is we barely touch on the 6 and the 3s and whatever. We start at 0. What is 0? Let me put this phone down real quick and answer that. So, and I'm going to have him at an angle a little bit so you can see his hands a little bit more. 0 inch power has to do with the fact that there is no space between you and your opponent. The hands is already buried right there, right? Now we practice more usually in the sternum. Really, to be honest, anytime this square hand can fit on a square part of a human body, anatomy-wise, it just works out best, right? And then, of course, center line, moving the mass, whatever. All right, so understand that. But he has his hand buried deep. Now, realize this, if his elbow's just a little bit out, I'm teaching this at first. This is actually the first skill I put everybody through, because I want them to be able to see the power of our punch. Now, if he pushes off that, no, I want you to really push too. He's not going to get much. As you saw from just the magnetic north, to be able to go from here and to do that does not mean that elbow's going to be out here, right? The elbow has to keep close to the body. So to have that elbow in now, and he pushes off, I'm pushed back further. He's being very nice to me in that situation because I know Will's power. So he's being nice. Like he could put me through that door if he wanted me to. So in that, we're already beginning that Fajing idea. Pretty soon it's the point where I give him the mindset of, okay, do that, but when you do that punch, but when you do, now I want you to mentally get the idea. Now I'm not really so much being pushed back here so much as my body's crumbling to his technique. Like it's, you see that? It wasn't just a pushback. My body just went, oh. That is how you experience Fajing. So all of my students who start with me already get a touch of Fajing, that Tai Chi, that Bagudan, that Xingyi level, that Wing Chun, that level of internal skill. They're already getting it first time out. I don't even play with that. I want my students to be, yes, intelligent and dangerous by design. That's how I give it. I don't play around with my Wing Chun. Does that make sense? So the whole time you have Fajing attributes, skill. Ta-da! But that's what I do, and any of my students can bear witness to that. I'm already giving it to them. So now, when they do inch punching, just like Bruce, and they have the fingers pointed, when they decide to do that Fajing method where my body crumbles versus just pushing me back, it is up to them. But now they can do it from this point. See what happened? So 0-inch power is actually the best solution to give a student in the very beginning. Because now all those other punches, when you give them, it should have the same effect, if not more, right? As everything else. It should be equal now. Now what the student does, they're going to figure out how can I multiply the power of that punch. It's easy, the stance and whatever else, right? Everything has to come together. That's just hand. What happens when his whole body, goes into it? What happens when you shift into it? All of that, okay? That's what makes a Wing Chun man powerful, right? It can make anybody powerful, right? As long as you practice a skill. Even karate people can do the 0-inch punch. I've seen it. So it's not just a specialty of Wing Chun. Let me just say that. Let me keep it real. But I want to go into what Marcus Fard had to say, because I was excited over that. That was where I was just like, ooh, he's asking questions. Oh, I get excited. My eyes lit up. Please, I am honored that anytime you want to bust out a question, please do. As a matter of fact, I added you just now as a friend on Facebook right now, like while this video's going. So when you see that, which you'll see it earlier than this video, it's gonna be like, wow, he really did that. He said, when the gum sow press is put on the lead arm, why in your approach don't you turn to face them nose to nose and fire with the rear hand Wu Sao? That's a great question. In the magnetic north, I want you to, because I'm gonna finish whatever you had to say, so I'm gonna start there. When we did this magnetic north project, and he had this pen. Now, he has his backhand here. Now, whether he has a fist or a Wu hand, turn it into a Wu hand, right? You know what I'm saying? From this point, he can actually turn and hit me with whatever hand he's going to have. Okay? He can do that. That's no problem at all. The goal was, if you know about Chum Q, if you know about the form, I'm going to show. Actually, you show it. You show it. When he's ending right here with the double palms out and folds, now he's getting ready to kick over here. Okay? Once he does the kick over here and goes in the gum sow, yep. Now he's going to go for that second and third gum sow. The idea behind magnetic north wasn't just the gum sow that I was pressing for him to put his hand up. Something could happen right here where this arm gets covered, right? And I'm gonna show you an example right after this, and it's gonna click. It's gonna make sense. From this point, now instead he's not firing back with this hand. Okay, something happened where it was immobilized or something. It can be anything. I don't care if it's just a fight and maybe that arm needs to rest, whatever the case may be, right? But as he straightens up, now he's delivering a punch straight. Now, I will say this, go back. And I want you to face me. Okay. Do that same angle. Now, I want to show you something real quick. I want everybody at the same time, when I say begin, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, begin. And I want you to count how much faster this hand lifts up the punch versus he switches and changes up to punch with this rear hand. Count. Okay? I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, then I'm going to say begin. All right? You follow that?
We do with this one first and then the move first.
Yes. You're going to do it with this lower hand first. 1, 2, 3, begin. Did you see how fast that was? Now put that back down. Now instead, you're going to punch with this hand. Okay? 1, 2, 3, begin. Which one was the faster punch? I'm going to let y'all be the witness to that. I want you to tell me how you felt. Which one did you feel was the faster punch?
I felt they were roughly the same speed, but this was far more structurally secure because when I did this, I had to do too much readjusting, and that subtracted.
Say it real loud for them. Let them know.
Well, like I said, they both felt roughly the same speed. The first one may have been a hair faster, but the main difference I felt was not necessarily the speed, but in the structural component. Because when I did this, I had to do way too much. My alignment was just janky, but when I came this, it was far more flowing and cost effective. So that's just how I felt about it.
Now, granted, another thing is this. Okay, if he has a gum style again, if my hand, if something happens, because look, I'm gonna show you that example right quick. You ready? He has his hands like this or like this, however way he's going to hold his hands, right? And let's say this chum Q example. See, okay, thank you, Marcus Farr. Boy, we about to pop today. Okay, I want y'all to see this. Bear witness to this. Here we go. He's going to do a gum sow without that shift. And I want you to see what my next move is. Here I go, right? I'm going to go with the lead, and I'm just going to do a front kick, right? I want you to see this. I'm going to break it down in several parts, so I need y'all to watch. All right? So I have this, and he gum sows, right? So I want him to gum sow hard, and I'm not going to kick hard, but I'm going to kick with enough oomph that he gums out. He can put pressure to his gums out, right? Here we go. What just happened?
I got hit.
Mm-hmm. Just because someone kicks once doesn't mean they won't kick again. Okay. So one thing I want to emphasize is this. That direction allows for the direction of your opponent to go a certain way. You can actually use that gum sow, and if you want them to go this way or go that way, depending on which gum sow you use or the angle or whatever, it allows that to happen. Now, he can re-angle the gum sow with his hand alone and stay straight, and he's going to do that now, right? Yeah, get that. Yeah, you don't even have to shift, but get like that the direction or whatever. If you want me to go that way, just angle it more that way, right? So it's been a long time since I taught this, so that's why I like this question. I love it. All right. See, but I can still. Okay. Now I want you to shift with it, right? I missed. Right. Did you see what happened? When I kicked, he shifted. It redirected me here. Even if I try to pull something here, it's too late. He has his rear hand just in case something like this happens. He can have this technique here, true. Now, if I have my hand here and he tries to punch here, punch right there. Off balance. And I didn't even punch. So this technique going to here has more abilities than just push me up against the wall. You see how that worked? Now, he lost his balance trying to use that rear hand in that case. Now, then, of course, when you saw that, do it again. And he did that gum side and he shift. When I bring that leg back up, I miss. If I bring this leg up, it's actually so close to him, I can't really get the effectiveness. Actually, when I lift my leg up, I'm hitting his thigh. I'm not even hitting groin. Right? True, there's some thigh techniques or whatever. But if my goal, because maybe my skills ain't all that great, is groin, I still already missed it. I couldn't even get the kick off, and I was way too close. This is why even Dan Inosanto himself told you there's a kicking range, there's the boxing range, there's the trapping range. Yeah, the boxing and trapping are often the same. You know, there's this range, there's that range. There's a lot of things you can't do out here versus here. You get what I'm saying? So that's another thing. Once I wanted to get that groin kick, if that was what my possibility was, it was over. He redirected me. Versus the last time he was just like this, he caught all that. You know. Now, of course, we don't groin kick here. There have been some mishaps. My left one feels kind of different. My left one. But that's one example right there, okay? Now, another principle is this. When he did, and I'm letting Will do most of this crap, because guess what? I'm probably Will's biggest fan. Even with his crazy stuff, even with a lot of controversy he be spilling out, I'm probably Will's biggest fan, okay? Now, when we did this, and the twisting and him aligning himself up, because Will's doing magnetic north, and he lifted his body up to do what he did, go for it. I want y'all to understand something. It wasn't about this fist anymore. Tai-yun, when you do it from Chum Q, yeah, you're hitting with the hand. Very true. But in this case, we're not even discussing about the fact about the hand hitting. His pushback is this wall. Think about it if this was all brick. If it was all brick, it was the outside of this building, it was red brick. There's not too many people that can just keep fighting back at you if you slamming their body against the wall with either that technique or anything else. Another thing my students know about me is if I have to, I will not take the fight to you. I'll use my skills because either the concrete on the street or some roadway with bedded rock or brick or my car windshield, someone's face or body's getting implanted and all that. I will not fight you with fists if I don't have to. Which is the smarter? What hits harder, my fist and my feet or the concrete street? Okay? So, well, you know, I listen to a lot of rap. But does that make sense? Isn't that logical? Like, it's just like, and I hope y'all don't say nothing against it because y'all praise God over Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi can stand right there and John Kreese can punch and then Mr. Miyagi moves and then the car, the window of the car gets exploded and now his fist is all bloody. Y'all enjoy that. Please do not talk crap about what I just said because then that's ignorance. Ignorance does not live here in this school because at one time this school, and it still does, martial arts, intelligence, and sciences. Brain. Okay? So, but that's one idea. But another one is this, and please understand this point. We have a part in the wooden dummy. And this one part of this section, we're going and people want to know what that move means. And really, we would be shifting here, right? But if you don't have this strong here where they're pinned, guess what? This person can punch anyway. So you have this. Put your hand down so they can see. Right here, right? Now, whether you do it like this or like this is better. But the goal of this is not just the fact that you can palm here and hit the stomach, or you have the palm kind of angled a little bit. Now you're hitting floating ribs. Because that's just a small part. What can happen is, like I said, and I'm not going to do it, what hits harder? My punch in my palms or the concrete street, right? Because I can get into a point of actually getting in and slamming. Not necessarily slamming like I'm trying to pick them up, but you can sweep and have someone dropped, right, on concrete. And if you follow along with that opponent, it adds extra force. So now the concrete has beat them, not me. I just helped.
Nothing's bigger and stronger than the earth.
Nothing's bigger and stronger than earth. And doing this shifting, the idea of a shifting and be able to come back straight like that and him be able to sell me like that shows the true Hewitt nature of power comes from ground. If that never tells you that power comes from ground, that should have told you magnetic north was the answer to that question and everything. So we use our stance, we use our hips and our knees to flex up or flex down. Your hips goes in and out. Your spine straightens up or it can sink because there's certain techniques that need it to sink. Your elbow opens up but knows when to close. Your hand can punch, right? But you know when to tighten it up at the very end versus maybe this punch can allow a little bit of a lightness to it. Why is that? It's all teaching lessons. So it ranges. If I'm just trying to teach somebody a lesson, I'm not going to hit them with a strong punch. I'm going to hit them with a light punch. I'm going to hit them light. If I want to hurt them, they going to get hurt. Like that punch was nothing. That punch was me just lit. I was playing with that one. You do not want to see anything past that. So
You don't.
So, our goal in Wing Chun. Oh, let me add this real quick. I'm gonna add something real quick. Gumsa, shift. When my hand was here and it could have done something, let me put it here. I want you to recognize something. Shift up, but when you shift up, go ahead and see if you can square me right here to the face. With that Gumsa, when you straighten up with Tai-yun, there's your opportunity. Now you see that? Now, I want to tell y'all something. I'm going to tell you the real reason about chain punching. Because at the end of this form, guess what happens? When he comes up, what is he doing now? Chain punching. And now the closing of the form, right? Let me tell you the real reason why you chain punch. Because oftentimes the first punch is fickle. The first punch has no power. And sometimes it may not have the power. We do not want to think ourselves as men. please put yourselves in the box that you're a 14 to 16-year-old girl who's fighting for her livelihood of not being a concubine slash mistress slash rape victim, and now you have to deal with this bigger dude, probably my size and my girth and strength, and I got my kung fu over here, she got her kung fu over here, and she's only been practicing 6 months to a year? Please understand that. When you have that kind of mentality, you, even with me being 6'3", I will not punch you just once just because I think that punch will hurt. This is not 3-6 Mafia. This is not One Hitter Quitter. That's one of my favorite songs. But because I love 3-6 Mafia. But please, this is not it. You want to keep punching and keep attacking because you want to feel like as if the job is never done. And it's never done. I want that body to hit the ground. I want that body laying on the floor of wherever I'm fighting. And if it ain't over at that point, I will finish you. There's a point between Mr. Miyagi and Cobra Kai. I said it. Because in the end, your preservation of life is way important. Now, if it was your family in that same house and you had to deal with somebody, guess what? The preservation of your life and your family is number one. Fight until there is no fight in them, whoever that person is. We cannot play with Wing Chun. I can't even do it. I'm sorry. I will put a knife to your throat. Like if I bite you down, even though it's plastic. But even with the plastic swords, I will beat you down with plastic swords till you cannot fight no more. You will be bloody and left broken. That is the way my Wing Chun works. All this other Wing Chun keeps playing around. We don't do that here. Not with that Hampton Hong. No, sir. Remember, Hampton Hong comes through Jim Crow. That's what makes us different. Jim Crow, if you know your history, yeah, we're in Arkansas. Word. Anyway, I'm sorry to get serious like that, but when I'm talking about Kung Fu, I don't play. I just don't. And that's why this man has stuck with me so freaking long. Because I'm going to give it to you cut, dry, raw, and let it, and then you can test me anytime you want to, and my answer's not going to change. I'm not going to be any different than what I was, except how much have I learned each and every year. Because each and every year I come different. A little bit different. But the rules are still the same. It's a solid video. I have a habit of asking why other women. Okay, I respect that. I was just making sure I didn't miss anything in that question or whatever. But please, let me be seriously honest. If you're going to fire with the Wu Sao, from that Wu Sao, I will say this, because it's a matter of your interpretation of Wing Chun and how you want to play it. Because we do have these points where, like, if he's at the Gum Sao, and he decide, because my hands are here, because he don't block the kick or whatever, and he decides to fire with that Wu Sao, punch with that Wu Sao from there. Now, he knows he's blocked because my hands are here. I just had normal boxing hands. I'm just a normal street fighter. I wasn't expecting this, but if I keep my hands like this, I'm still protected. His hands are still going over there. Let me remind you of something. Lob Sao does go like this, but Lob Sao also could go like this. He could take this hand and change it into a lock going back. And there you go. So even if his Wu hand fires and he doesn't have that first attack, he can Lob Sao that arm. And then there you go. Because the fist has now become a Sao. Okay? The punch, in this case, is the first Sao hand. I don't want anybody to think that just because they punch, they're not blocking someone. Don't they say Kyun Sao Kyun? Kyun what? Yeah. Punch for a punch. They cross each other. You're learning how they cross each other. Why? Because they can block. Just with the angle of it. Even right now, even if I want to put my arm up, I can't because he's got me covered with elbow and forearm while punching me. If he pulls more into it, I'm really locked. This is chin not locking at its best. So even if there's a startling to a punch or a delayed punch, this is perfect time for delayed punching. Because if he locks me like this and I'm a bigger guy, guess what? Now he can decide to shoot up and hit me. And now he can chain punch. Thank you. I think I clipped my teeth. Anyway, but you get what I'm saying. So he has that opportunity. It can become a lopsided. It's just that in this case, when he had that gum sow, right? He had an opportunity to clear. Well, I could be like this, and he had an opportunity to clear. And I got a first taste of a hit right there, right at that second. So now the question is for you, whether you believe, should the first punch, if you can tag it, if there's a possibility that that punch can do something, would you rather hit with the first one? Or would you rather punch then have the lopsided then punch? Which one takes the less time? Wing Chun is about what E word?
Emotion.
Economy of motion and efficiency. That's the name of the game. So it just depends on what you want to do. Us teachers don't knock it if you end up doing something that takes more time, but then you have to explain to them why. Because my teacher used to come to me and say, Todd, I understand you did this technique, but why did you do this when you could have done that? And a lot of times my answer was because I want to explore the one that takes the most time versus the one that takes the less time, because if I ever teach, I want to have a good explanation to my students. I have never in my life, when I do Wing Chun, I have always tried to do several different roads to the same goal. So I can explain this in the future. So my mindset of teaching this, when I was hanging out with him the first 4 years, from like 14 to 18, and now it's 18 to 22. I've had 8 years with this dude, so I already knew what was the shortest path. Now I want to know what would have happened if I take the longer path. And then my mindset at 14 and 15 that I want to be able to teach this both ways because I want to have an answer for both. I was setting myself up for the now. Then 14, 15, now I'm 40, turning 41. I had that kind of vision for what my legacy. That's what it's all about. So it's not just Wing Chun, it's leaving your legacy. What happens when you're dead? Will your students be able to do what you're doing or do it even better than you? I want him to do it better than me, Clayton, Ian, whomever, to do that Wing Chun better than me. It's not about me trying to be up here. It's about who's going to drop that vehicle of Wing Chun towards the future. You know, because pretty soon we'll Wing Chun robots. Boy, I hate to be y'all. Anyway, I'm staying home.